to this video. In this video, I'm doing an interview with Greg. He's one of my clients. He has had phenomenal success with our flagship program, Advertising Mastery. And just wanted to get him on here on the YouTube channel just to ask him some questions and really kind of get inside his mind as to how he's so successful. So without further ado, let's get started. How are you doing today, Greg?
Hey, I'm doing well, Justin. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, so like the first thing I usually start out with is just like a little bit of background. I know that you sold insurance for several years before even getting started with me, and you were kind of killing it. But you want to give us a little bit of your background, maybe like how you got into insurance, why you got into insurance, and what kind of stuff you were doing up until finding me in the program.
Yeah, definitely. I've only been in insurance for 4 years now. Prior to that, I was military. I was in the Army as an officer. Got out and kind of fell into insurance on accident. Depending upon who watches this and where company they come from, they've probably seen one of those Indeed ads that's really nondescript. Doesn't really tell you what it is. It's just like a sales job leading to management. You're like, yeah, that sounds good. It's like, yeah, you can get up to $65,000 to $100,000 salary. And then you get there and it's insurance and there's no salary and it's 1099. And so that's kind of how I fell into it. I was captive. And the only reason I started because I looked around all the people that were there that were working there, and they all had really nice suits and just their belief in it, like the money you could make. I was like, man, if they're making money, I can make money. So started with them. And then I bounced around from company to company a little bit. It was all for me, it was all about the leads. I've always known from the get-go, because the first company did not have leads. It was a bait and switch sale. Hey, we're going to give you this free gift or whatever, this free child safe kit. And oh, by the way, while we're there, we got to also pitch you on insurance. So after doing that for a while, and I was successful, but I wasn't getting the money that I wanted to get. I switched around to different companies, and it was all based off of leads. And so I finally found an IMO where I hung my hat, and I started running a lot of leads. And so been in this company for 2+ years, and I can say that I've used probably almost every single type of lead that's out there. I've done a lot of experimentation on lead. I've used almost every single Facebook lead, final expense lead there is, at a massive amount. I've done mailers, I've done mortgage protection, I've done final expense mailers, I've done annuity mailers, just about you name it. EverQuote, I've used them all. So I was always trying to look and what I can tell you is that, doing that, you have this opinion that like, oh man, I'm looking for like the perfect lead. It doesn't exist. There is no perfect lead. It really is your mindset. And what I eventually found is that it's your mindset, the way you approach the lead, the way you see the lead, and how you kind of attack getting in contact with that client and helping them. Like you can use the cheapest lead, you can use EverQuote leads, and you can find success. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and where I came from and where it led me up to now.
Do you think you've always been entrepreneurial, or do you think you've kind of just found that? And the reason I ask is because, like you said, when you first got into insurance, and I had the same experience, you were enticed by being able to make money and all these things that sound entrepreneurial, but then it wasn't actually a salary. So do you think you've always like had that drive, which caused you to not quit immediately when you figured out that wasn't the way it was?
Not really, not entrepreneurial per se. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur coming up. What I did, I've just always been very, very competitive. And so a lot of that stemmed from my military time and just being able to operate at a high level in different environments, no matter what, and always trying to be the best. And for those of you in the military, or even like, especially when in the officer corps, it's very competitive. You're always in competition with all of your peers. In terms of like who's going to get promoted, who's going to get what position, who's going to get selected to go to a specific location. And it's all on your performance. So you have to constantly perform at the best level if you really want to skate through your career and just kind of like go with the way of things, go with the wind or whatever, but then you don't have a good career. You just do whatever. Whereas I wanted to go to all the best positions. I wanted to go to all the best locations. I competed for command. I got command, you know. So I've always been very competitive, and I've always kind of looked over at other people and said, if that person's doing it, then I can find a way to do it. And I'm very headstrong in the sense that if I failed at something, I always looked at myself like, okay, I'm not doing something right because there's other people out there doing it. I need to find what they're doing and not reinvent the wheel. Yeah. Just find what other people are doing, implement it, get really good at implementing it, and then revamp the system to where it makes sense for me once I've gotten good at it. So coming into this, like I was scared. I did not want to, because there's a lot of security with salary. And it's false security, but there's a lot of false security with salary. Always going to get paid no matter what. You have like the benefits and medical and dental and all that stuff. And letting that go to go into a position where it's just like, hey man, if I don't work, I'm not getting paid. Just like, so it was just constant, man. For my first 3 years in insurance, I woke up like, I don't know what all I can say on here, but like my butthole was puckered, bro. Like, just like scared, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I gonna make it today? Like, what if no one buys from me? Like, I got bills to pay. I still got to get some leads. And I was constantly just nervous, this anxiety, but that drove me to continue to just work and do activity. And that's what it's all about. It's just like, if the activity levels are there, you're going to make it no matter what. And it's just not quitting. You just keep pushing. And then you start to find the success, and then it just starts to come easier. Then your mindset gets right. Shit. Sorry, I don't mean curse. Every once in a while, I still like wake up and I'm like, man, have I been lucky all this time? Has this been luck? And it's just like, no, man, the system works. So, so a long story short, I wasn't, raised to be entrepreneurial. I didn't start off that way. It kind of fell into me and it worked and it felt right.
Yeah. Well, this is a good place to kind of transition, because you started talking about a lot of the things that I recognize in people that have had success in my program. And it comes down to believing in yourself, right? You talked about in the military, it was so competitive, and you find a system, and if it's working for other people, it's going to work with you. And that's because you have belief in yourself. And I've had that experience myself, like with whatever thing I'm gonna start, I'm gonna succeed in it. Like, that's my mindset. Mm-hmm. If I start it, I'm going to succeed in it. I'm not like, otherwise I'll do the math up front. Like, if it's something I don't think I'm going to succeed, I'm not going to start it. If I start it, I'm going to succeed, no matter what that is. If I'm like buying into a program, if I'm starting a new business venture, like, it's up to me to figure out how to do it, and then follow the systems working for other people and get it to work better for myself. And I think that that's why, and also just working, right? Instead, and I think that like the mix between those two is why you've had massive success with my program, because you saw that it had worked for other people, and you knew that if you started it, you get it to work for you, and you did really, really well. And it takes work to just go through and actually do that, right? Like, a lot of people, and I'll let you kind of speak on this, like what your experience with it was. But what I've seen is like a lot of people, they don't want to do the work to make a video. They don't want to do the work to write some ads. They think that like advertising and marketing is something that they shouldn't do. And I guess that kind of brings us into a segue of like, why do you think you had such success with the program, and also how you liked it?
When I first started the company I'm at now, I did not want to invest in leads the way that you should. Okay. And so I was kind of dipping my toe in the water, and I would buy like the smallest, like, and this is back then, this is like back in 2018. And there was only like 2 Facebook companies that did Facebook leads. There wasn't what we have now. Yeah. And I'm going to be real, like, they were garbage. They were $15 a piece. And these were like $15 $15 for a final expense. And I bought 20. The minimum was 20. And so it's $300 a purchase. And that $300 was like stabbing my heart. I was like, oh, like, oh. So I would buy 20, and my mindset was like, I'm gonna sell like half of these. And so I would dial, wrong number, wrong number. And they didn't give you refund, by the way. Wrong number, wrong number, wrong number. Call, someone picks up, curse me out. Wrong number, wrong number. And I'm like, this system sucks. Like, and so it took me to talk to some top producers that were crushing it. And I was like, dude, what am I doing wrong? And I was doing a lot of things wrong. And so I was basically I looked at the system and I was just kind of like dipping my toe in and not going all in. And I just needed to go all in and commit. And there's something about commitment, like committing to something, like you said, hey, anything that I do, I'm going to be successful at it. Like, because you've committed to it. You commit first, you figure out the details later, because the details will kind of flesh out as you move forward. Because everything's there's no way for you to figure out all the details first. And I think that's what really stops people is they feel like they have to have that 100% solution. They have to know everything. Well, you're not going to know everything. That's like trying to, that's just, it's almost pompous to think that you're going to know everything about everything. And like, it stops you from action. So, I just committed, and I just started like buying more leads. And I found that with the more leads I had, it was easier to find the people that I could, have a genuine conversation with, really wanted to help, and I could go help them. And the numbers was played out. And so now it's a number. It became a math problem at this point, Right. And so I think just from that growing pain of going through that, it has created a belief in me that almost like I've used, like I said, a new lead source would come up in the company, and I'm like, boom, done. Like I would just be like, hey man, how are your leads? They're good. Okay, let's test them out. Let's do this. And I would test it, and if it worked, I kept with it. If it didn't work, I'm like, hey man, they weren't that good. I'm not using them again. And by the way, everyone that asked me, I'm gonna tell them not to use them. So I'm an honest broker. But if they work really well, I'm gonna tell people like, hey, I used them and they were awesome. I think that kind of led me through to when, man, I found one of your ads on Facebook, and it was for, and I'd seen another ad for creating your own VSL, and I wanted to, and I saw their VSL because they had a VSL to sell their VSL, and so I was like, dude, that's so intentional, because I got sucked in on it, and I went through this funnel, and I was just like, yeah, but what I wanted was and this was like back in the end of 2019. So this is a while ago. But what I wanted them to create it for me.
Okay.
I wanted the easy one. I was like, I just want you to create the system, do it, and just like have the leads generate. I'll pay you, have them generate. I'd run appointments. I just want to run appointments. And it was like, yeah, it's not what this program is. And so more time went by, and I talked to other people that were like getting into Facebook, different agents that are like, oh, I'm gonna start making my own Facebook ads. And I'm like, hey, you got to do it like this. You got to like create a video, and you got to do this whole process, and it's got to go through a funnel. It's got to go through pages, because it creates intention, and people. It's basically designed to like kick people out that aren't willing to talk to you. And I'm telling them all this, even though I didn't know what I was doing. But I was like, this is what it's got to look like. Go look at this person. Like, they have it. And I couldn't get anyone to do it. And so then I was always in the back of my head. And it was Black Friday. It was right after Thanksgiving. I was sitting at the house. I just got done doing some online shopping, and I was going through my Facebook. I saw an ad, and it was like, create your own Facebook ads. But it wasn't the advertising mastery. It was the fast track, lead gen fast track. And I was like, dude, I could do this. And so I was like, you know what? It's finally, it's about time. I'm just going to learn how to do this, and I'm going to take control of my own business. So I did lead gen fast track. And the whole time I'm thinking like, I'm going to learn eventually one of these weeks it's going to get there, and I'm going to learn how to do video sales funnels, thinking about and it never came up. So I was like, oh, this is the basic model. I just bought the Kia. So So then you and I had the conversation, and you were like, "Hey, this is what you're looking for is the advertising mastery. That's what this does. Here's a cost." And I was just like, "I want to do it." I didn't have the money at the time. I was like, and I knew I was just like, "Dude, I'm going to do it. Just trust me. I'm a salesman. I've been told that before. Like, I'll get back to you, but I'm actually going to get back to you." I was waiting for because my commissions were all tied up at that point, and so I was waiting for that this bonus to come in, and it did. And as soon as it came in, I contacted you back. I was like, "Let's do this. Let's go." So I was already there was a lot of events that kind of converged at that moment, that led into this moment where I was like, I knew at this point I had to do it myself. And I was, I don't know anything about Facebook marketing. I don't know anything about making a website. But I knew that was a way forward for skills that I wanted to learn. And in order for me to take control of my business, it was also applicable to other things that I want to do with my business, not just for generating or not just for lead generation. So
Yeah.
definitely. And how have I dude, I love it. Because I can have a much higher level of conversations with people. Anytime I if you're an insurance agent and you're in the industry and you post anything about insurance, you're getting all kinds of contacts from lead vendors, all kinds of lead vendors. Most of them are from Pakistan, and those are garbage. Don't use them. But anytime anyone has a conversation with you and they're US based and they're trying to hawk you some wares, you can have a much higher level conversation with somebody, and determine if they really know what they're talking about, if their product's legitimate. Because I may not use a product, but I have a lot of agents that could use your product probably.
Really?
So yeah, it's infinitely helped my business.
That's awesome, man. Man, you talked about so many things that I want to dive into, but I don't want to take
Yeah, at any time I talk a lot. At any time you can stop me, like, dude, let's pause here.
I liked it. It's more questions from me, but I also don't want to take us too off track because there's so many things you talked about just with your mindset that it stands out to me so much as to why you had success with this, right? You initially were looking for someone to do it for you, and that really just doesn't exist. Like in any industry, for it to be done well and someone to do it for you, it's very hard. And also advertising and marketing, at least in my opinion, is like a 30-year business, right? And if you just outsource a 30-year business in any industry, that's a lot of business that you just don't know about, right? And so
Yeah.
I love to touch into that. But let's dive into how let's talk about the actual appointments that are coming from this funnel you built, right? So
Okay.
for anybody that doesn't know, I'll just explain it real quick. People go through a funnel is just a series of landing pages. People come from a traffic source that could be Facebook ads, YouTube ads, doesn't really matter what the traffic source is, drives us to the funnel. There's a landing page, gets them to opt in to watch a video. The whole point of the video is to sell them on an appointment. Then the appointment takes them, or from the video, takes them to a schedule page where they can schedule, asks a few questions to qualify, and then they're good to go. They're on your calendar. You just call them when the appointment comes. So let's talk about those and the types of people you're talking to, the conversations you have compared to some of the other lead sources that you've done in the
past. So the conversations are night and day different, and night and day different. If for anyone watching, if you've ever called any kind of lead and you feel nervous because you're like, oh, can I say this is insurance? And I gotta say final expense benefits center. I can't, or burial benefits. I can't say life insurance because they'll hang up on me. If that even crosses your mind as you're calling somebody, then you could with this kind of lead, that's not the case. It's just it's a conversation. It's much more fluid. You're an actual advisor. They automatically recognize your voice, and now, like I said, a lead source is a lead source. And in a sense that I don't have 100% contact rate. It's not like rainbows and butterflies of oh yeah, every single one that signs up for my funnel, they're all every single one answers the phone when I call them. It doesn't happen. There's a lot of people when I call them, they don't answer. And I ask them, say, hey, this is Greg, and I'm calling about the strategic assessment. You scheduled it with me. You put on my calendar for this time. Are you available? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, sorry. And then they'll call me back. That happens a lot. Or I'll email them, say, hey, you missed your appointment. Let's get it back on the calendar. Here's my calendar. And I'll send them the link, and then they'll get back on. So It's just being diligent, but where the real difference is the actual physical conversation you're having with people. They know what this is.
Mhm.
They know exactly. And I've had 20-minute conversations where I'm just like, hey, this is what, tell me about yourself. Let me ask you some questions. I want to get to know you. That's the point of this. I'm asking them questions. I'm digging out their whys and their situation, what they have in place, what they've done in the past, who they've talked to, why they've dragged their feet, what's prevented them from making any decisions on doing any kind of protection before in the past, um, medical conditions, prescriptions they've had in the past, all kinds of stuff. And I'm having it takes like 15 minutes, and then I spend the remainder like 10 minutes being like, hey, this is what I recommend. Based on this, you have these conditions, you have this is what you're looking for, this is why. And I just repeat their situation back to them to show some empathy. And then I say, hey, based on everything, this is my expertise is helping people just like you, people that have these kind of conditions, people that are in this situation, blah, 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 this niche. And this is what I recommend. This is what I've done, to help other people in your exact position. And it's worked out really well for them.
Mhm.
And then they're like, oh, okay, perfect. And like, how do we get started? Too easy. That's it. Like, let's do this. And
Yeah, exactly.
then it's a very simple conversation. And it's not even sales at this point. It's really just doing the best for people that have asked for help. And if you market it right, I think the best thing, what people don't realize, or maybe not realize, the hardest but the best thing about this is picking your niche,
Mhm.
and getting um your verbiage down so
Right.
that your message speaks to those people. But um also realizing like what an actual, like really tracking ROIs,
Mhm.
and 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 tracking your conversions. And because most people, like, that I've talked to in the industry, I feel like, well, I spent this much and I made this much. It's like, but did you really make that much? And did you really track every single conversation? How much time was spent? And like, if I could spend a little less, if I can make a little less, but I spend less time doing it, like, then what really is the ROI at that point? Because time cannot be bought back at
Mhm.
all. so,
Yeah.
but that buys me more time to do more things. So there's a handoff there. Um, and I think that's something that I learned from doing the program, was really tracking my ROIs in terms of money, but also time, and learning how to speak to a niche, and like becoming a subject matter expert to a point to where when I say something on the phone, or in the home, or over Zoom, or on a FaceTime, or wherever, like, they hang on my words because
Right.
they trust, they believe. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, that stuff's already built up front from just the video working really well. You just have a bit of, I mean, a bit or a lot, depending on how you do it, of rapport already built. People
mm,
just trust you. And then you were touching on saving time. So just to clarify for people where huge time saver is, um, the videos are working for you like 24/7, 365 to have these appointments booked. So you can cut out like time dialing, time doing all this inefficient stuff because the technology is just working for you. So, you just get on, have those conversations with the appointments, and then you're good to go. And
yeah,
typically, correct me if I'm wrong, most of these are like one call closes. And because you're focusing more on a niche, not a product, you can sell whatever's best for them, right? So it's not just final expense, it's term, it's IULs. Sometimes you come across annuities.
yep, yeah. It's term, or it's not term. It's a niche. So these aren't marketed towards people that are just looking for final expense. I've done literally every type of policy. Um, in my typical phone calls, about 25 minutes to 30 minutes,
Yeah.
like, on and off. And
Yeah,
I
it's
do an email
crazy.
signature, and I'm done. And so,
Right. And some of these
um,
you're doing over phone and Zoom, and like I've heard other people that are trying to do remote sales, their conversations are an hour or 2 hours long because they have to build a rapport for the first 30 minutes or keep somebody on the phone for 45 minutes in order for them to give you their social security number, and that's just not the case with this.
No, yeah, it's not the case. It's not the case at all. In fact, I I barely get any pushback when it comes to. I mean, my niche is veterans because I'm a veteran, and so most military people like our social security number is on everything. We say it all the time. So so they like most military people don't care about giving out their social. They're just like whatever. It's like a line item number to them. So I don't really get a lot of pushback when it comes to getting personal information, but I think that's also in my delivery, the way I build rapport, which I don't build rapport by like by trying to like
Shit.
find things that they like and then be like, oh, I like that too. Oh, well, how's the weather? That's meaningless.
Mhm.
I'm business. I'm here for a job. Let me do that job. And I'm just very professional about it. But I ask really good questions.
Yeah.
I ask about them. I show interest in them in everything. And I ask what and how questions as much as possible um, to really develop their situation out. And then I literally take notes while I'm on the phone, and then I repeat everything back to them and say, hey, just to make sure I have everything correct. It sounds to me like the reason that you signed up to speak with me is, and I say everything they told me, but in my own words. And I basically summarize their story, their why, their life in my own words. And then they're like, yeah, that's right. And at that point, it's just like, you understand me.
Right.
You listened, you understand. And then I'm like, hey, perfect. I've made all these deposits. Now I'm going to make some withdrawals. Now it's time for me to tell you what we're going to do. And they're just like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of sales background similar to what I have. I've learned a lot about like Socratic dialogue and asking questions, because if you come in and just ask the right questions, people know you know what you're talking about, and that builds rapport quicker than any of that bullshit.
absolutely.
It's like, oh, you went to University of Nebraska? Oh, so did I. And like that, you have a cat? Oh, I like cats. Like,
I like
no.
cats. I love cats. The only thing that I even is I always ask them, like, because I do better, and I'm like, hey, well, start off. What service were you in? And they're like, I was Army. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, yeah, Army too. And then if they're like Navy, I'm like, I won't hold it against you. Thank you for your service, but I was Army. I'm better. Go Army, be Navy. So, and then I just jump right in and they laugh. And I'm just like, no, nothing big about it. But then what they almost always want to do is veterans want to come in and tell war stories. And I'll put up with that for a little bit. But I'm like, hey, you're the most interesting person I've talked to all day. Like, I would love to see her talk war stories, but my phone calls are actually monitored and timed, and my boss is going to start coming and looking at me real weird. So, let me just get through these questions real quick, and then if we have some extra time, we can shoot the shit. Sound good? And he's like, oh yeah. Done.
Yeah,
So
that's a smart move. Yeah, blaming, because like you obviously are your own boss, so you don't have that being the case. But blaming someone that's non-existent so that you can still maintain that rapport with them. Yeah, that's smart.
exactly.
Awesome, man. Okay, let's go into two more things, and then we'll wrap this up, because I know this is going to be a long one. Let's go into actual numbers and results, because really at the end of the day,
Yep.
that's all everybody cares about. And
Okay.
then what your plans are like with this going forward. Like, you use it for recruiting, like want to scale it more, kind of what you're thinking of all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Okay. So I'm trying to pull up because I sent you some numbers.
Yeah, I think those are in Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, they're on Messenger. I know in the month of April. There we go. Here are the numbers of April. So in the month of April, I did a total ad spend of $13,296.51 for that month. That generated 105 appointments that's set up on my calendar. Okay. Out of those 105 appointments, I held 38 of them. Out of those 38, I sold 18. Out of those 18, I wrote 23 applications for a total of $47,817.62 annual premium issue paid.
Very nice. So
So
then 13,000, 47,000 in, yeah, premium.
And a lot of homes. So I kind of do high. I don't do real high premiums, but my average case is about 2,000 per home. So I usually do husband and wife, or just do a large one on the husband.
Right.
So it's
And
about
for
2,000 per home.
those people out there that don't know, you did something insane in April, which is probably contributing to that low show up rate.
Mm.
Just for clarification, 38 out of 104 is really low typically.
Yeah.
So Greg and I are working on that going forward. But Greg also wrote like what was it, 168,000 extra.
$189,900 in the month
extra
of April.
in the same month from going in the home, doing mortgage protection, all this other stuff. So you still found time to get 38 appointments held from this funnel that got you 47,000 again, and you were pretty busy in April to say.
I was super busy, bro. I was really busy. Yeah, I did mortgage protection in the home while I was doing this. But I mean, also, because I had just started getting the funnel kind of singing right in March. And so we did a lot of changes where I upped ad spend. And I think there was a lot there, which I knew was going to generate more appointments, but it didn't necessarily generate, I knew those appointments were going to fall through, some
Right.
of them, because there was like, I have to continue to work on the ad, and I'm changing and doing like a video ad, and like, all the master testing method, the processes that you have in place in order to really kind of hone in on that perfect group of people, and then scale up from there. Like, I was still kind of doing that process before I started doing scaling up. So like, but I did it knowing that was going to happen, just because I was like, April, I had a goal that I was going to hit, a specific number. And I was like, hey, if I get a bunch of appointments, I know I'm going to sell them. I know I'm going to sell as many as I can. So, yeah.
So I got a kind of controversial maybe question, but I know people are going to be thinking it, and I think I know the answer to this is probably time. But if you did 47,000 with this funnel, but you did 189,000 mortgage protection in the home, are you going to keep using this funnel? Why use this funnel?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Here's mailers are dying. They're dying. And if you are telling yourself that you're going to do mailers for the rest of your life, and you're going to be selling for the next 5-10 years, you're fooling yourself. If you're not ahead of the power curve and not learning how to control a system that feeds business to your business, like it feeds clients to your business, attracts clients, then you're going to get left behind, and you're going to be left holding the bag, and you're going to be like, it's going to be a real hard day. I can tell you right now, like, I bought way more leads and I got less in. And that trend has been continuing. I've been doing mailer leads for over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And those numbers those return rates are always dropping. And it's now coming to a point where it's noticeable, you know?
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is. And I wouldn't bank on any one type of lead source, to be honest. It's like investments. Would you invest all of your money into one stock? No, you would diversify. This is your business. You don't want to be reliant on just one source. So am I going to keep using this? Absolutely. And I think looking forward, like, I can use it for other means within my business. I can use it to recruit. I can use it to find agents. I can use it to really, like, you can use it to do anything, any kind of ad you want to do on Facebook. You can like, you have the skills necessary to do so now.
Right.
It's just like, what do you have? What can you come up with? What are your thoughts on that? So yeah, I'm definitely going to still do this.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, this has been a great interview. I can't wait to continue to see as you optimize this, get more videos out there, more ads out there, and even move over to YouTube, what you're going to be doing in the months to come. So thanks again for having, or thanks again for
Thanks
being
again for coming on.
Yeah.
So if I can, I want to leave this with this last message for everybody. If you're thinking about doing it, just do it, commit. And with anything, the effort you put in is what you're going to get out. There's a really good excerpt from one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, that I like to read out to agents that think about it. And this is the excerpt. Those who have cultivated the habit of persistence seem to enjoy insurance against failure. No matter how many times they're defeated, they finally arrive up near the top of the ladder. Sometimes it appears there is a hidden guide whose duty is to test people through all sorts of discouraging experiences. Those who pick themselves up after defeat and keep on trying arrive. And the world cries, "Bravo, I knew you could do it." The hidden guide lets no one enjoy great achievement without passing the persistence test. Those who can't take it simply do not make the grade. So that is, if that isn't insurance and summed up, this is just a persistence game. It's continuing to do the work, continue to drive forward. And if you just commit to it and you commit to learning it and you commit to putting your all in, I promise you, you're going to have success. You're going to have an ROI and peace of mind as well. Like, I would rather have an appointment that I'm just like a system that's working all the time. I know is going to generate appointments for me and have those than having to constantly call clients and chase them. And so,
right.
That's my last 2 cents.
Awesome, man. Yeah, seriously, thank you for being on. You were great, and I actually am very excited to see like where you go with this as you continue to optimize those and get on YouTube. And there's still a lot of potential and growth.
Oh yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes too. I'm excited to see because now I have agents that are like, "Hey, you still doing that Facebook thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I still do it." So they're like, "Oh man, what do you like? Do you think I should?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I think you should do it." So if I can get like a handful of agents that are all doing it within my company, it's game over.